What if I told you that every decision you make, from what you wear in the morning to whether you speak your truth at work, is not just a choice, but a philosophical statement? Welcome to the world of Friedrich Nietzsche, a world of eternal recurrence, the will to power, and becoming who you truly are. Often misunderstood, Nietzsche is painted as a philosopher of chaos, a cynic with a hammer. But what if, instead, he was one of the most practical guides for living a courageous, self-defined life? Imagine this. You're standing in a grocery store aisle, hesitating between buying something you want and something others expect you to buy. You feel that tiny tug-of-war between authenticity and conformity. Or maybe you're deciding whether to stay in a job that drains your soul but pays well, or leap into uncertainty for the sake of meaning. These are not just lifestyle decisions. According to Nietzsche, these are existential battlegrounds. Nietzsche doesn't ask us to live moderately or morally by someone else's standards. He demands something much bolder, that we become the artist of our own life. He urges us to smash illusions, question comfort, and break the chains of herd thinking. His challenge is not academic. It's profoundly personal. It's in the mirror when you ask, is this really who I want to be? In a time when society begs us to be agreeable, filtered, and optimized, Nietzsche slams down the gauntlet and says, become who you are. Not who your parents want you to be. Not who your culture rewards. But you, raw and untamed. In this episode, we won't be analyzing Nietzsche through dusty textbooks or detached abstractions. Instead, we'll explore how his ideas cut through the noise and light a fire under our daily decisions. From the workplace to our relationships, from choosing courage over comfort to confronting the abyss of the unknown, Nietzsche has something vital to say. We'll unpack 5 key ideas. The will to power, how our true nature strives for growth, not comfort. Eternal recurrence, how imagining life on repeat can guide meaningful decisions. Slave morality versus master morality, how to stop living under values that don't serve you. The Übermensch ideal, how to craft a self beyond societal norms. Amor fati, how to fall in love with your fate and live with radical acceptance. This isn't self-help with soft edges. This is existential fuel. Nietzsche doesn't offer easy answers. He offers the hammer, to break, to build, and to become. So let's bring Nietzsche down from the mountaintop of abstract thought and into the arena of daily choices. Into your home, your workplace, your relationships. Into your morning routine and your midnight doubts. This is not philosophy for philosophers. This is philosophy for the brave. Let's begin. Friedrich Nietzsche's idea of the will to power is often misunderstood as a philosophy of domination or egoism. But in truth, it's far more profound, a call to transcend our limitations, challenge mediocrity, and step into the full force of our potential. At its heart, the will to power is the deep, inner drive to grow, to overcome resistance, and to affirm life in the face of chaos. And perhaps more importantly, it's a reminder that real transformation never comes from comfort. It comes from struggle, risk, and bold self-assertion. In today's world, comfort is seductive. We are surrounded by systems and screens designed to keep us numb, entertained, and passive. We avoid discomfort at all costs, staying in jobs that suffocate us, in relationships that shrink us, in routines that rob us of vitality, simply because they feel safe. But Nietzsche would see this as a betrayal of the self. He would say that to reject discomfort is to reject your own evolution. Growth, after all, is inherently uncomfortable. It demands tension, uncertainty, and often pain. The will to power is not about overpowering others. It's about rising above your own inertia. It's about choosing the difficult path, the one that challenges you to become more than who you were yesterday. That could mean learning a new skill that intimidates you, speaking your truth in a room full of silence, or walking away from situations that no longer align with your values. Each of these acts is an expression of inner strength, an affirmation that you refuse to shrink. There's something deeply empowering about this shift in perspective. Instead of seeing life's obstacles as threats, Nietzsche invites us to see them as raw material. Your struggles are not roadblocks. They are invitations to rise. They are the forge in which you shape your will. Even fear, doubt, and failure, when embraced consciously, become fuel for personal power. Choosing growth over comfort doesn't mean constant suffering or reckless risk. It means living intentionally. It means asking yourself, am I making this decision because it helps me grow, or because it's easy? It means waking up to your patterns of avoidance, and gently but firmly confronting them. It means becoming the author of your own story, rather than a passive character in someone else's script. Nietzsche's will to power is a philosophy of radical aliveness. It is the refusal to sleepwalk through life. When you live from this place, even the mundane becomes meaningful. Every challenge becomes an opportunity. Every decision becomes a turning point. You no longer chase comfort for its own sake. You pursue meaning, strength, and becoming. So the next time you face a choice, ask yourself, does this path keep me comfortable? Or does it help me grow into something greater? And then choose not from fear, but from power. Imagine this. A mysterious figure appears before you and declares that every moment of your life, every breath, every decision, every joy and failure, will repeat exactly as it is, again and again, for eternity. Would you rejoice, or would you collapse under the weight of regret? This is the essence of Friedrich Nietzsche's powerful thought experiment known as eternal recurrence. Far from a metaphysical theory, Nietzsche offered it as a radical test of how we live, a spiritual and psychological mirror reflecting whether we are truly affirming life or merely enduring it. At first glance, the idea is terrifying. Who wants to live their worst days again and again? Who would choose to relive a life of compromises, missed chances, and quiet desperation? But that's precisely Nietzsche's point. The thought of eternal recurrence is not meant to predict the afterlife or argue about the nature of time. It's a tool. A philosophical scalpel to cut through the distractions of modern life and reveal what really matters. When applied practically, eternal recurrence becomes a lens through which we examine our daily choices. Would you speak the same words, eat the same meals, treat others the same way if you knew this day would return eternally? It strips life down to its essence, forcing us to confront whether we are living intentionally or sleepwalking through routines. If today isn't worth repeating forever, then perhaps something needs to change, in our mindset, our actions, or even our values. This idea doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. Living as if this day will return forever means choosing to engage fully, not postponing joy, not hiding your truth, not waiting for some ideal future. It means treating each moment as sacred, because in the mirror of recurrence, there are no throwaway days. Even your smallest decision, how you greet a stranger, how you respond to difficulty, takes on cosmic significance. Nietzsche's eternal recurrence is not a doctrine of despair. It's a call to live boldly. It challenges you to create a life so meaningful, so aligned with your deepest values, that you would gladly live it over and over. It's an invitation to embrace your fate, take responsibility for your choices, and step into each day with eyes wide open. In a world obsessed with the future and anxious about the past, Nietzsche draws us back to the now, not to escape reality, but to fully inhabit it. The eternal recurrence test doesn't ask you to predict the future. It dares you to love your life enough that you'd relive it eternally, not out of punishment, but as a celebration of conscious living. So ask yourself, if this day were to repeat forever, would you be proud of how you lived it? If not, the time to change is now, because, in many ways, this is your eternity. Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of slave morality is more than a philosophical theory. It's a powerful wake-up call to anyone who has ever felt trapped by expectations, guilt, or the pressure to conform. To break free from slave morality is to reclaim your life from the hands of others and begin shaping it on your own terms. In a world where we are constantly told who we should be, what we should want, and how we should behave, Nietzsche's challenge is both radical and liberating. Stop living by others' rules. Start creating your own. Slave morality, according to Nietzsche, was born out of weakness. It emerged historically from those who were oppressed, powerless, and unable to express their will directly. Instead of fighting for their own values, they began to glorify qualities like humility, obedience, and suffering, traits that made their powerless condition seem virtuous. Over time, these moral standards became internalized by entire cultures. Suddenly, strength became evil, while weakness became good. Today, this legacy still lingers. We often follow rules not because they're right for us, but because we're afraid of rejection, punishment, or disapproval. We obey traditions because that's just how it's done, even if they no longer serve us. Breaking free from this mindset doesn't mean becoming selfish or cruel. It means becoming conscious. It means asking, whose voice is really making my decisions? Is it your parents? Your religions? Societies? When you make a career choice, dress a certain way, or bite your tongue in a conversation, is it truly you behind the wheel? Or is it a chorus of invisible rules whispering what's appropriate? Living under slave morality keeps us small. It teaches us to apologize for our desires, to distrust ambition, and to shrink ourselves for the comfort of others. We're taught to be nice rather than authentic, to be liked rather than respected, and to obey rather than question. But Nietzsche calls us to reverse that. He urges us to forge master morality, a value system built not on fear or shame, but on strength, creativity, and self-expression. In this framework, you don't ask, "What should I do?" but, "What do I value? What kind of person do I want to become?" To live without slave morality is not easy. It means you might disappoint people. You might make unconventional choices. You might lose approval, but you'll gain something far greater, your freedom. And from that freedom comes authenticity, joy, and the rare courage to live a life that is wholly your own. So stop waiting for permission. Question the rules you've inherited. Break the ones that keep you caged. The only morality worth following is the one that allows you to thrive, to grow, and to become who you truly are. That's not rebellion for its own sake, it's responsibility. Responsibility to yourself. Because in the end, the most dangerous thing isn't breaking the rules. It's never realizing you were living by someone else's all along. Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, or Overman, is one of the most powerful ideas in modern philosophy, and one of the most misunderstood. Contrary to popular misconceptions, the Übermensch is not about being superior to others. It's not a call for domination, arrogance, or perfectionism. Instead, it is a radical invitation to transformation. The Übermensch is someone who dares to become who they truly are, not who society wants them to be, not who tradition dictates, but an individual who has the courage to carve out a self-defined life with purpose, passion, and integrity. To strive toward the Übermensch means to reject the comfortable illusion of conformity. It's easy to adopt the values handed to us by family, culture, or religion. It's safe to follow a path that's already paved, to choose the kind of job, relationship, or life that others deem acceptable. But Nietzsche believed that living this way leads to mediocrity, stagnation, and inner decay. The Übermensch, on the other hand, is the creator of new values. This person does not rely on borrowed morality, but listens inwardly to the pulse of their own becoming. At the heart of this journey lies the question, who am I becoming through the choices I make? Every decision, big or small, is a brushstroke on the canvas of your becoming. Are you choosing safety over truth? Approval over authenticity? Nietzsche challenges us to step beyond these compromises. The Übermensch doesn't live for applause. They live for alignment, a deep inner congruence between what they value and how they act. Importantly, Nietzsche didn't imagine the Übermensch as an endpoint but as a direction, a lifelong striving. You don't wake up one day and become an Übermensch. You evolve toward it by confronting the shadowy parts of yourself, taking ownership of your choices, and daring to affirm life even when it hurts. The journey toward the Übermensch is not smooth. It demands resilience. It requires looking into the abyss and still choosing to create meaning, joy, and beauty in the face of chaos. This striving is not a solitary act of ego, but a form of deep responsibility. When you become who you are, you become a beacon for others. Your courage gives permission. Your authenticity inspires. The Übermensch does not isolate themselves from humanity. They elevate it by living fully, honestly, and fearlessly. So to strive toward the Übermensch is not to be better than others, but to be truer to yourself. It's the art of turning your life into a work of creation, one that's not borrowed, diluted, or ashamed. It's a journey of becoming that never ends, but always deepens. And in that striving, you don't just live, you become alive. Amor fati, love your fate, even when it hurts. Amor fati, a Latin phrase meaning love of fate, is one of Friedrich Nietzsche's most profound and courageous philosophical ideas. It challenges us to not only accept what happens in our lives, but to embrace it wholeheartedly, even when it breaks us, even when it burns. At first glance, it sounds impossible. How can anyone love pain, loss, failure, or grief? Yet Nietzsche was not advocating blind positivity or naive cheerfulness. Amor fati is not about pretending suffering is beautiful. It is about recognizing that every experience, no matter how painful, plays a role in the making of who we are. To practice amor fati is to look at life as a sculptor views a block of stone, not as something to be tolerated, but as raw material for transformation. The strike of the chisel may hurt, but it is shaping you. Nietzsche believed that greatness is born from struggle, not ease. In his view, the most powerful people are not those who avoid pain, but those who make meaning from it. When we love our fate, we stop resisting the flow of life. We stop wishing things were different. Instead, we start asking how even this heartbreak, this failure, this storm, could serve our becoming. This philosophy goes against everything our modern culture teaches. We're told to pursue happiness, avoid discomfort, and optimize everything. But Nietzsche turns that on its head. He dares us to embrace discomfort, uncertainty, and even tragedy, not as curses, but as companions. He teaches us to stop living in the shadow of what if and why me, and start living in the light of yes, a bold affirmation of reality, exactly as it is. Think of the worst moment in your life, a betrayal, a loss, a mistake. Amor Fati asks, what if this didn't ruin you? What if it revealed you? What if, through loving that experience, you could transcend it? It's not about justifying cruelty or denying pain. It's about reclaiming your narrative. You're not the victim of fate, you're its co-creator. In a world that constantly pressures us to curate perfect lives, Amor Fati brings us back to something deeper: presence, courage, and radical acceptance. It tells us that joy is richer when it's not built on avoidance, but on integration. When we stop fighting our fate, we start dancing with it, and in that dance, we find resilience, grace, and an unshakable self. So the next time life throws something unexpected at you, remember Nietzsche's whisper, Amor Fati. Don't just endure it. Love it. Let it shape you. Let it teach you. Let it make you more than you were, because that is where true power begins. So, what does it really mean to apply Nietzsche to your everyday life? It means that every decision becomes a moment of potential authenticity or self-betrayal. It means daring to make the kind of choices that may not be applauded, but are deeply aligned with your truest self, even if that self is still in the making. It means not hiding behind excuses, not numbing yourself with conformity, and not outsourcing your values to algorithms or social norms. To live Nietzscheanly is to step into the storm and say, I am not here to be safe. I am here to become. It means asking yourself, every morning, what would I choose today if I knew I would have to live this day over and over again for eternity? That's not just a poetic question. That's a soul-forging one. It burns away the trivial and leaves only what matters. It means rejecting slave morality, not in cruelty, but in courage. It means not obeying out of guilt or fear, but acting from a place of internal strength. Choosing what's difficult over what's dull. What's meaningful over what's merely popular. And when you stumble, because you will, Nietzsche reminds you to say yes to even that. Amor Fati. Love your fate. Even your failures, your heartbreaks, your missteps. They are not detours from your path. They are the path. Love them. Embrace them. Grow from them. The Übermensch is not a superhero. It's not someone who's above others. It's someone who's beyond the old self. Someone who creates new values, lives deliberately, and dares to be a work of art in progress. That, Nietzsche says, is the highest form of humanity. So next time you're faced with a difficult decision, quitting a job, ending a toxic relationship, moving to a new place, speaking your truth, ask not what's safest or easiest. Ask what brings you closer to who you could be. Ask what ignites your will to power. What affirms your existence? What you would choose if you were the author of your life, because you are. Nietzsche doesn't promise comfort. He promises transformation. And so I leave you with his words. One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. So embrace your chaos. Embrace your potential. Break your chains. And in every small choice, dare to create a life worth repeating. Thank you for joining this journey into the fire and freedom of Nietzsche's philosophy. Until next time, live dangerously, think deeply, and become who you are.